welcome to this special bonus-ode for Adepticon 2026 on Across the Bifrost.
Bonus-ode. I didn't sign off on the name bonus-ode. I don't like how that sounds.
We're rolling with it. We're doing it live.
Hello, everyone.
That's Jamie. This is Dr. Norbert. I am hoarse and jet-lagged and exhausted, but extremely, extremely happy as I have just literally come off the plane from Adepticon 2026, and I'm here to tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, man. Literally fresh off the boat back in the UK. I'm impressed that you're recording today. I thought you'd need at least a week to recover.
Today is such a wasted day that if I just sat down and did something relaxing, I would just pass out and then be up at 3 a.m. So this is actually quite helpful to me, keep me going until bedtime.
Great, cool. Okay, this is the one episode. Not many people know this, but whenever we record an episode, I'm going to say 95% of the time I start speaking, Norbert yawns. It's horrifically distracting. I hate it. I've told him off for it many times, but this episode, Norbert, I'm going to let you off. You can yawn all you like in this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if I actually just fall asleep?
Fall asleep? That's fine. I'll take over. It's fine. My Norbert impression will come into play. And,
Jamie will take the wheel.
Yeah, I'll take the wheel. We're like the Hulk, you're like, Dr. Banner, and I'm like the Hulk taking the wheel, Anyway, how was it?
Overall, fantastic.
Yeah.
In fact, Jamie, I would say in particular, this event felt a lot warmer to me. Personally, maybe because I know a lot more of the folks now, and we've interacted for many years already, and I hadn't been there for 2 years, but I had many deeper, warmer conversations with people. Also felt the love of the community even more broadly because of the podcast. I had loads of fans coming up and talking to me. Which was super gratifying. It was great to see them all. And they all asked after you as well, wanted to wish you well. And
should have pretended Darren was me. There he is over there.
Well, you don't say that because they gave me swag. Look at this. I have this to give to you.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, X-Men Crisis tokens that a fan gave us. And another fan gave you these BAMF tokens.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome. See, complaining about mutants coming up roses.
So people really thoughtful.
Thanks.
Yeah, but and we'll come to some of the. I got a gift too, but I'm going to wait to tell you as part of the kind of timeline story that I'm about to embark with you. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is you. You're going to be pitching Adepticon 2027 to me. Okay, you need to try and convince me to go, right? Tell me how much fun you had, and then I'll see if I can be convinced to go next year.
Okay, cool. So I was very fortunate in that I had wanted to go to Adepticon, but needed some buddies. For me, it's more fun. And so good old John Excel came out of the woodwork and said, hey, I really wanted to go to this. Are you still interested in going? Because I have a hotel. And I said, oh yeah, let's do this.
Nice.
But then I managed to use my powers of persuasion on 2 other vulnerable London meta players, and so Darren and Archie Cable from Cable's Conquests. You may want to follow that podcast now because I'm sure he'll be doing rundowns of all his activities there and probably more battle reports and things. Those 2 came as well. So there's 4 of us coming from the London Meta over to Milwaukee for this event.
Nice. Yeah, also, you are the MCP influencer in London. You influence people. The London community is only existing because of you and your ability to sway people into doing stuff. So I'm glad it's stretching to across the pond as well.
Yeah, sometimes I feel mildly guilty about using them, but on the other hand, I do like having the more the merrier. It's kind of my motto.
Man. Yeah, nerds just need reasons to do these things. We just need reasons to get together and spend our money on things. So you're just enabling them.
And I do want to also a shout out for Darren Kelso. Is going to be on the show for an Adepticon, a Patreon only episode. And he will, because he had a marvelous run, really in the competitive brackets, and has lots to say about that. And so that will be our sweaty episode. So we'll be going on all the sweatiness with Darren.
On Darren and Archie as well. Both did really well in the competitive stuff, which you can hear more about on the episode. I was cheering them on like it was a football team. And like, I cared more about their results than I've ever cared about England in any World Cup. I was like, I need to know how they're doing. I was out with friends that don't play MCP, and they were like, "Oh, how are they doing? Go check." So we were like, I basically told them they were like, all-star sportsmen, which they are, just in the MCP scene. But yeah, no, it was really cool watching that from afar.
Cool. Glad to hear it. And we are a rare breed. There was the biggest ever attendance for Atomic Mass games in general, but also MCP. But still, the European contingent, as it is a big trip, both time and expense-wise, I think there were only 9 Europeans in the overall thing.
Right, yeah.
So, it is a pretty
Are you counting yourself there?
I am. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, look, if I have to pay this much and take a week off of work, I am definitely counting myself.
Yeah, fair. Good point.
Yep. So we flew out. Now the boys hadn't been to that part of the world before, so we decided we were going to go out a day earlier. So we flew out on Tuesday and arrived there Tuesday evening. Our good friend JJ, who is my WTC teammate to the first WTC, he actually lives now in Chicago, and so very kindly and wanted to go as well. He was also looking for an excuse to go because he'd been hearing about it since he'd been doing World's End Radio ages ago, apparently. And this now he actually is about an hour and a half away from it. That's where he lives. So he offered to pick us up. So that was great because it made the trip much easier because the connections to Milwaukee are terrible. So we just went to Chicago and we were going to take a bus, like a coach up, but then he picked us up instead, and he had snacks for us ready and beers. Yeah, he totally hooked us up.
What service? Look at that.
Yeah, JJ's the best.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go to play Bud Bowl. So anyhow, we not only that, but then he has a good buddy who lives up in Milwaukee, and so he was going to stay with that person, and that person invited us up for dinner that evening. So we got off the plane, got picked up, and was scooted straight up into this guy's house. Had beers, local beers, and dinner.
You love your local beers.
Yeah. Oh,
How were the local beers? Were they really local?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Milwaukee's known for it's beer city from the old days, and so now is this microbrewery revolution happening there, and so there's loads on offer. It was great.
Nice.
So that was our Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, we had a lie-in, which was great after the long trip. But then we went sightseeing in Milwaukee. And I have to say, a half a day, I would say, is plenty for Milwaukee. It's a lovely city, believe me. It's lovely, but it's for me, growing up in New York and now living in London, I mean, it just seems very sparsely populated. And there's just not as much to see. Certainly during like the colder months. Like in the summer, it wakes up entirely in a different way because it's on the lake. It's on one of the Great Lakes. They have tons of festivals, a lot of lake activities going on. You know, there's a lot more going on. In the winter, it really was kind of not so much. So we did look around though, and if you can see here, you can see this big Schlitz Park picture that we're all in. Do you see that on the screen?
Oh, nice. Is that like graffiti?
Well, it's a mural, right?
Graffiti.
Yeah, it's a mural. On the side of a building, and it looks really cool. Schlitz is apparently pretty good beer.
You didn't try it?
I didn't come across it actually, but I might not have been looking hard enough. Honestly, I have to tell you, the event flew by, and at the same time was so jam packed. I could barely do like half of the things that I wanted to do.
With the amount of schmoozing you do as well. You get caught up in conversations so much. Like, you need to be a bit more like a black cat energy like me, where I can kind of sleuth around and avoid people. You're the golden retriever across the Bifrost.
So true.
Constantly getting stopped to talk to someone.
Yes, I know. When I'm with the other guys, I'm like, look, this is going to happen. So if you need to get somewhere, just go.
Nice.
Anyway, so we walked around there. We had this most amazing breakfast there too at Wolfie's a brunch bar or something like that. It was outstanding. One of the best meals of the trip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the omelet that I had. Anyhow, we then walked around a bit on the marina, and it was freezing out that day and windy, is Arctic wind, but they have these little sauna boxes like right on the marina. And so people would be in the sauna box and we watched them. Then they would walk out of the little sauna box and then just walk down the little boat ramp into the Great Lakes to do the cold splash that they did.
Oh, damn. That's kind of cool.
It was intense is what it was. I was like, these people
you weren't tempted to go for a little skinny dip in the lakes?
I do like a sauna, actually, but I can't like do the walk-in thing. I like to go into saunas where they had like the big bucket of water on the ceiling, and you just pull it and it just goes, and there's not much you can do about it, and then it's over.
Nice.
Like to willfully kind of take a few steps into it, that sounds worse. Yeah. And they were taking like little steps. If I really was going to do it, I'd be one of the guys like running and then just diving headfirst in, because otherwise it's
get over
too
and done with.
Yeah. So there's us looking out over the city. Anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time on this.
You've managed to find the least podcast-friendly content ever of going through your holiday album.
I wanted to show you so you understood. Yeah. And then we went to a microbrewery. So Ray kicked things off correctly. Microbrewery, look at that. There's like 50 microbreweries. This one was, let's see, which one was it? It was Central Waters Brewing Company. And I had a nice flight of beers there. And generally, I wasn't even drinking pints. I was just staying in flights because there was so many options.
What's a flight?
Oh, a flight means where they give you smaller portions of a number of beers, anywhere between 3 to 6 different beers.
Okay.
That way, it's like tasters. You can do tasters, essentially.
Yeah, nice. Okay. They look like very Norbert beers. They're very brown, and they're very IPA. And they look like they taste like an old table.
Wow, Jamie, we've become so acquainted. I didn't expect you to
I know your beers. Yeah. I've been to enough microbreweries with you. But hey, try this. It's called Old Leg. And it's the most disgusting beer I've ever
had. Anyway, then we got into, it was only half day for Wednesday. So we decided to go to the hall. They opened the hall up early. So for everybody to understand, it's now in downtown Milwaukee. And I'll tell you ahead of time already, it uses the entire convention center. This is where Gen Con used to be before they moved to Indianapolis. So it's huge and really nice, well laid out, good aircon, good ventilation. They had tons of food trucks inside the place itself for reasonable prices. I mean, it is cons, so it is expensive, but it wasn't that. It was okay. And loads of floors. Hotels are all connected with skywalks for the most part. We were in one that was just directly across the street from a hotel that has skywalk, so it was no problem. And Milwaukee is just, like I said, less dense city. So they had tons of restaurants, microbreweries, old-time German-style restaurants because of the heritage of the city. You didn't need reservations. You could just rock up. Which is not what it was like when it was in Schaumburg, which is a suburb of Chicago, which is like closer to the O'Hare Airport, actually, where it's just first of all, you had to drive everywhere to get to the restaurants because it's just in this like little park, basically, where like a hotel park, and everything was just jam packed all the time. It was a nuisance. Here, it was great. Okay, it is harder to get to Milwaukee, at least for us. But after that, it was way better of a facility and way better to do like eating and drinking and stuff like that. So thumbs up for the new venue. And top tip: if you do have to have a bad connection to Milwaukee, instead you can go for. First of all, an Uber was not much money. It was a lot, but if split 4 ways, it wasn't bad. Or you can take, they have bus services that go from the airport, Chicago O'Hare Airport, directly to downtown Milwaukee, which is where the convention center is. So those are my tips. I wouldn't take the train unless you want to go into Chicago proper to do some sightseeing first. I wouldn't take the train. I would take the bus or take an Uber if you have enough people and just go directly to downtown Milwaukee that way. But anyway, they already had the hall open. That's how organized the Adepticon team is. And let me tell you about them. So I've become friends with Hank. Hank is one of the 2 co-founders, right, Jamie? Super nice guy. He helped out at WTC now a few times with Terrain. He's chatted with me, make sure everybody has a good time that comes over from Europe. He's very particular about that. But he also has a co-founder who is you see him on interviews and things. He does interviews occasionally, but I hadn't actually met him yet. But anyway, he's like straight up punk rocker, right? Like an older punk rocker guy, right? Although I'm sure back then he was younger. And my point in telling you that is you've got the nicest Midwestern attitude guy in Hank in terms of his personality. Midwesterners are famous for this, and he's one of them. And then you've got the punk rocker guy. Nice. And the reason I mention that is that you could tell this event, the ethos of it, all these years still carries that punk rock attitude, which is we're not here to make money. We're not here to seek sponsorship. We're not looking to get bought out. We are not selling out. We are here to make this the best damn show for miniature wargamers. And that's it.
Hell yeah.
And so everything they do gets better every year because they think about it from the point of view of gamers and they put the effort in from the point of view of gamers. And if companies want to come along, great. But that's not, we're not going out of our way. But Hank also is like really looking forward. Like he has a hallway of reserved just for small indie people who need to get a leg up before, indie companies who need a leg up before they can maybe hit the big time, So he's always looking to encourage that. Again, punk rock, look out for the little guy, the working man. And, we're not saying no, and certainly he does accommodate a lot of the requests that the big dogs have, but everybody for him is equal in a sense.
Yeah, nice. I love it. Well, I mean, it's clearly coming through, right? You're saying that these events are just getting better and better each year.
It was organized so well.
Yeah.
He had arranged. I say he. I'm sure he's got a massive team. He had arranged all the parking garages around there had special pricing for the con. Yeah, and it said so. The city put up Adepticon welcome to Adepticon banners everywhere, and had a billboard, and like I said, all the food trucks and everything were arranged ahead of time. The badge situation was smooth, even if you were in the will call rather than the pre-mailed type of badge. That moved along faster than I've ever seen before. There's I had a change, a snafu in my registration. They handled it straight away. I wanted at the essentially last minute, 3 weeks ahead of time. I asked if I can get a hotel room to do a meetup for across the Bifrost and Scott, the brush wizard from Goonhammer, and he hooked me up with Shelley on his team, and they arranged it free of charge because they happen to have the space that they weren't using. So. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how locked in they are, and they do better stuff all the time. It was top notch. And I've been there a few times now, not every year, but I've been there a few times, and every time there's some sort of something got smoother or something got added that was even better. They have lockers now. They added all these lockers that you could rent, so that you could just dump all your crap in there while you're out then gaming later. I mean, it's just little things. Yeah, smart, right?
That's great. How many Adepticons have you been to then?
Third one. This is my third one.
Okay, nice.
I did 2 in Schaumburg. I skipped one in Schaumburg, skipped the first Milwaukee one, and now came to Milwaukee again.
One. Nice. Oh, great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, because of part of that organization being so great, they already had the hall open at 3 in the afternoon when they said at best it could be open by 5, and then will call would open at 7. So we just rocked up in there, and it was great because here's the picture already at the MCP area, and people just started gathering, and that's for me is me, the social butterfly. One of the highlights was already just having relaxed time because nothing was going on to just chat with people and say hello and give hugs. Everybody gives hugs now. I love it. Everybody gives hugs
in a post-COVID world.
Yeah,
we're doing that still. Back on
also post Gen X.
I see,
when I was growing up, men were not hugging. Now it's great. It's so nice. It's just like a thing. It's no big deal. I honestly, it's to me a big deal. So I like it, and it's great. So I'm showing some pictures, but all the people, podcaster people.
Yeah, I was gonna say I recognize these people. I've seen these YouTubers.
Yeah. So this is Carl from CarlCon. That's Mike Dembois from Strike Better was there. This is Charles Omnis from Omnis's Protocol. That's Nate from Gamers Guild, also NashCon. They were
that's
just
Norbert
hanging
from
out.
Across the Bifrost as well.
Yeah, that's
Dr.
me.
Norbert Games.
And look how dressed up the room was. The MCP, or the AMG area is bigger than ever before. I think the actual, they had kind of one of the big ballroom, not ballroom, hangars, let's say, of the convention center. And GW was on the opposite side of the floor with their own kind of hangar, but they were about the same size, I think.
Damn.
And and look how dressed up it was. They had tournament HQ thing above you, and then they also had here. You don't see it. They had an MCP thing hanging from the ceiling. Star Wars Legion thing hanging from the ceiling. The paint and take had its own area, And then you had to look at, they had all their like banners everywhere. So it just felt very welcoming and also energizing to see all the cool artwork that they had. And they had a lot of little teasers in the artwork. Even outside, they had like a couple banners wrapped around the pillars of the convention center, so you could see, some of the newer stuff that was coming our way that we didn't even realize.
Yeah,
so
some of the event artwork, because I saw this at UK Games Expo. They have artwork at the events that they haven't released yet on cards. I saw some X-Men artwork that I hadn't seen before, but it was in the starter set that came out a few months later. So it's like almost like a little guerrilla marketing strategy to be like, oh look.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so you're not sure, is this going to come our way? Is it just fun art? You don't know. So it's fun. So here you can see all the mats laid out with the terrain already. Look at the cool, I showed you this in a bigger picture, but look, they had this cool AMG only Asgard themed mat.
I thought you were going to steal me that. Norbert sent me a picture of one of the mats and he was like, hey, you got this mat? And I was like, no, I don't have that mat, Norbert. And I thought between the lines, I was like, I'm about to have that mat. Norbert's about to bring it home with him.
It would have gone, they would have noticed because there weren't very many of them. And it is a pretty striking mat. Shatterpoint, by the way, for all the naysayers out there, it was the biggest they've ever had, and I think rivaled almost MCP levels of players for Shatterpoint. Yeah.
Cool.
So you see the poster there. So that's Nigladar from the Rules Forum.
Oh, nice.
He was there, yeah. And so anyway, so I was busy chatting all afternoon and evening long, but the boys, of course, they wanted to get their games in. And let me tell you this. Now, there's no shade on the boys because, look, it's their con. They can do what they want. But before we got going, I said, look at all the fun stuff you can do. You can do events. Obviously, you're going to play in some tournaments, but you could do these events, or you can do shopping in the dealer hall. You can do painting classes, or you can, this and that. It's an American-style con. I mean, the bewildering amount of options is hard for a European attendee to understand.
Right.
Anyway, so trying to tell them that. But I have to tell you, when I used to run SmogCon with, of course, a lot of people, not just me, and then BonesCon after that, which were American-style cons for the War Machine days, right? You'd see it all the time. This was such a new concept, and the amount of games that are conceivably on offer to Europeans, or at least UK players, is too irresistible the first time. The first time they come, they're like, I am competing in everything I can. I'm going to get all the games in. I'm going to get my money's worth, and I'm going to try to take the crown. And I get that, and it's great. And they are shattered. At the end of it, they're like, I'm very happy. I did all this, but I need 2 weeks to recover. And I'm like, cool. And then the next year they come, they're like, I'm going to do some of the other stuff as well as playing all the tournaments, right? They temper themselves, and then they have a good time then too, because they realize, look, I don't need to play every absolute game that I possibly can, and there's all this other stuff I can do, and I'm going to have an amazing time. Anyhow, I say all this because the three boys, despite my best efforts, they went full hog into the tournament scene, and they couldn't get enough games. So here already on Wednesday evening, when they opened gaming tables set up, they just found some random player, and then they started playing games already that night.
Nice. I mean, they went there for MCP, right? Play as much MCP as possible. So I understand.
Yeah. No, like I said, throw no shade. It's just I feel like a pattern that I've noticed now for gamers who go to American cons for the first time. So anyhow, I went and did more hanging around with people, and so that's Scott the Brush Wizard and his buddy Greg that was there, and then we met some of my older friends, and they had a market hall there. So even if you didn't want to go to a restaurant, it's one of those things. We have them here too. It's a huge hall with lots of stalls within it, and you could that way you could buy food and then you just eat at a general, like they have tables just in the middle, sort of that, so people can get whatever they want to eat.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same thing, and then you all just gather on the table to really. But they also had a pour your own beer section, self-serve. So you would put your credit card, or they had a special card that you would put into the slot in front of the beer spout that you were interested in, and you pour as much as you want, and it would just start ticking up price for how much you're actually pouring.
Well, it's like petrol, right?
Yeah, just like petrol. Except so that way you could try, for me anyway, I could try all these different beers. I could just have a swallow and be like, oh, that wasn't so good. I'll have a different one. And then I just keep going. And then you just trade the card in, and it just taps it out of your credit card, and you're done.
Yeah, nice.
So I met my old friends from New Jersey War Machine days. That's my really good friend Tom, and his friend Casey, who I met then, and that's JJ. And Jamie, this is the beautiful thing about our hobby, right? JJ comes from one circle of my friends, right? Tom and Casey are an entirely different circle from friends, right? And they were there for playing Bud Bowl, and JJ happened to be playing for Bud Bowl. And so JJ was with me because we wanted to have a beer together to catch up. And these guys were there too. And I said, hey, these are my friends. So I introduced them, and I said, hey, they're here for Blood Bowl too. And all of a sudden, JJ had friends that he was hanging out with for the rest of he having deep talks with them, and then going to the tournaments and commiserating about results and stuff like that. And by the end of it, they were just in their own like circle again. So this is the important thing about our hobby, man. It connects us in all kinds of different ways, virtually, but also in real life. And you can't have too many friends. You really can't. Because you never know when you need somebody to lean on, or if you're looking for somebody to do something with together. Having a community through this hobby is priceless.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, it's also, speaking as a pretty socially anxious person, it gives you something to talk about. So I can really go up to anyone in a room, in an MCP tournament. I know I can speak to anyone there and say, what about them crits, eh? You're good. You're away, So it's really good for that. It's so much easier to socialize because we're all there for the same very, very niche hobby reason.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You have somebody who understands.
Yeah.
So we had those beers, but then we had to rush over to one of the first restaurants that we ate. And I only mentioned this because that's Chewy on the bottom right from the Danger Room podcast. And that's Deaton in the middle from the Danger Room podcast. And that's DeLuca. There as well at this restaurant, and that's Sooner was there. That's Toast over there, Toast, and so the reason I'm mentioning all this is because full credit to Chewy. He's a local. It's his hometown, so I think he had some pride on the line that he wanted to demonstrate. So he all on his own back arranged a huge dinner. Of people that were part of the show, wow. or knew that was coming with me from London. So all the London boys were invited along to this. So you see the big table that he's there, and he made all the arrangements, and he treated us as well, really well. It was really unexpected for that, and went above and beyond, and everyone was thrilled. This was like the kickoff of the con. It was such a great way to start for the camaraderie, but also tasting the Milwaukee style food for the first time together. And there's Kenny G from the Gamers Guild as well, plus some other folks I don't know or that well anyway. So it was great. Oh, there's Art also from Game Store Guardians. So it was great. And here, Jamie, these are the famous Milwaukee cheese curds, or at least Wisconsin cheese curds. So this is, Do you know what curds are?
No.
It's when you make cheese. And I'm going to get this wrong, but you have to squeeze the water out of the milk a bit and to condense it to make it thicker, more protein and fat based. So then that the bacteria or whatever start to eat and make it cheese, right? But I think this is the part where I think is where you've squeezed it, but it hasn't turned into cheese just yet. So it's like chewy, firm pieces, sort of like mozzarella. In a sense, like mozzarella sticks, kind of. Yeah. So they batter them and deep fry them like this. And so we dug into those straight away as an appetizer, and they were very tasty, along with local beer, of course.
Yeah, now you got me. Well, you lost me at beer, but you got me back at cheese.
And also, because of the German heritage, they're very famous for their German food in particular, but sausages is like the big thing, in particular bratwurst. Anyway, this is the picture of Usinger's, a famous sausage house. So it was literally across the street from the factories, like across the street from where the restaurants are. So you can get bratwurst and all kinds of other wurst, and I'll come to that later. Well, I'll just tell you. So we went to a German restaurant later and had huge steins of German beer, and we had wurst platters. So I had bratwurst, Weisswurst, Knackwurst, and a smoked bratwurst on top of sauerkraut and potato salad and everything. I was in heaven. It was so good. It was so tasty. Anyway, so then Thursday, I was taking, I had 4 days of gaming ahead of me. So I'm like, I just got into Legion, those lovely starter packs, you know.
You went for Legion as well.
Yes, because I could. I put all this money into Legion. I don't get to play it that often. I said, let me just dig into this. And so I have to say, the Legion schedule was really to my liking, because every day of the con, they would have one competitive style tournament and one more alt/casual fun tournament. You know, so cater to everybody. And so on Thursday, they had a 3-round competitive one that I went into. That's Jesse from Fury's Finest, who was on the show, and we went on his show as well. Look at that cool Grievous t-shirt that he has on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
You're going to have to share these photos on the Discord after.
I will.
Maybe people can follow along. Should have said that at the start of the episode.
And so that's Dizzard, the Night Lizard. He was instrumental in setting up the TTS League back in the day when it first started, and he was there for that. So he got to meet in person for the first time. It was great. So anyway, I played Legion that day competitively, and I had my roster. And there was a group of Londoners that went there for Legion, and they invited me very kindly into their WhatsApp group. So I was chatting with them, and they helped me kind of get ready for this event, and it was loads of fun. And look, Jamie, there's one of the guys that came from London. He was in it too, getting warmed up. But look at this. Not that one yet. Look at this. I played against a guy who was playing Rebels, and so he had Luke Skywalker, and I was playing Galactic Republic, and I was playing what's his name? Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so eventually Luke Skywalker charged into Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we started doing a 2-round lightsaber battle.
Nice.
So I took a photo of that. Isn't that iconic? Look at all my clones around them.
Yeah. Is that OSL on Luke as well?
Yeah. He did a nice job with that lightsaber. Nice. Yeah.
Legion tables, man, they look so good. I remember seeing Legion tables even before we played it. And the table game is so strong in that.
Yeah. Look at this weird TIE fighter kind of thing that they had, like a wrecked TIE fighter on the board. And cool. The other one here had like these like Hoth type of things.
Yeah, nice. So are we any closer to starting a I don't know what this
Legion podcast?
Yeah, Legion podcast. I know AMG did ask us at one point, and we were like, "Are you going to do this?" And we were both like, "No, we're not. This is enough, thank you."
It's enough. There's a lot out there, so
yeah. I got the starter set for Legion. You know, I did my bit. I painted the whole army.
I've done my part.
Yeah, I just didn't like the game, but I did like painting the army, so that's cool.
That's right. You did a good job with that, actually.
Whole army.
Yeah, exactly. So let us get to the first big drama of the convention. So I had a great day playing Legion and everything. But here's the thing. The rumor broke very late on Wednesday. There's going to be a special con exclusive miniature at the con. And I'm used to this because American, at least for War Machine Hordes, they would do this. They would con exclusives. And I loved it. It was a con exclusive as a reward for coming, and to kind of assuage people who couldn't come to the con, they would also have like an online thing where you could order it online but during the con hours. So it felt like a con thing. So we found out last year it was Shatterpoint stuff. I think, or it might have been Legion, Star Wars though. This year they showed it was Mephisto, and such a sweet sculpt of Mephisto sitting on his throne, looking very, very smug, as you'd expect, and all this smoke and flame coming around him. It was boss, but nobody knew what was going on. They just saw the photos and it's going to be con exclusive, but nobody knew how to get it and everything. So I happened to be eating breakfast Thursday morning, and I was just scrolling as you do. As I'm like waiting for my the check, and they posted a link. They said, use this link if you want one of these con exclusives. So then it became apparent it was going to be where you had to use the link to sign up, and that would kind of earn you a spot for that day. And then you could go to their booth during that day only and purchase it. And so here's a picture of me and Darren when we just finished picking up ours in between rounds of our games, picking up the Mephisto things. But the controversy is we normally in the past, and I think it was with the Star Wars things last time, we thought that you could get one every day of the con. Like it'd be only one, but you'd have to, and as long as you got one of those slots. And so on Friday morning, 8:00, all 4 of us quickly looked for ninja shopping purposes, right? People wanted it so badly. I had an order. I had 6. I could have bought 6 of them. So we tried to do it at 8:00 on Friday morning, and it was sold out within like less than a minute. Sold out, and we're like, "Oh, this is not going great." So we then waited till Saturday, and this time we all got it. We all got links because I think we got there faster, or maybe other people got everything they wanted for the time being. I don't know. Online, it also sold out straight away. That was all out, and it wasn't even available in Europe. It was strictly to Asmodee North American customers. So we got. On Saturday, we got links, and it was great. But Archie went over to the booth at some point ahead of us, and he said, "No, they're checking names against the list."
Because of all the scalpers.
I guess. So it was one per person for the event, period, full stop. Yeah. So now suddenly... Now suddenly it was really, really a very exclusive item, and I'll come on to why this is important later. So I was really feeling fortunate to have gotten one for myself because I really liked it, and so I got it. And so that's a picture of us picking ours up. So that was like the Friday, and have the pictures run out already? No, there we are. And so so the Thursday evening is when we did the meetup, the Across the Bifrost meetup. And so we went over to another hotel, and so you can see here Scott had already set up, and he was desperate to play a game with me after being friends for so long and never getting to play. So he set up his cool new pinball Guardians of the Galaxy terrain set that he's been showing off on our server a lot, and that's his wife there too, who's having a good time. And then my old buddies from the old days came, and Tom and Greg played Blood Bowl next to us, and we had drinks there, and we had a really comfortable room, and loads of people came by. And you know what was great? Danny Modesto and Charles from it used to be Omnis's Protocol. I should say, sorry, they changed it now to Move Throw is the name of their podcast. Yeah. Anyway, they came. They want to say hi amongst tons of other people. But what was funny is Danny is a massive Blood Bowl fan, unbeknownst to me. He saw those guys, and suddenly now he's friends with my old friends because he's cheering them on, and they're going doing all this goofy stuff, playing. I think it was Dungeon Bowl they were actually playing. So he was suddenly totally into it. He was like a broadcaster, of a sports event next to these guys playing their Dungeon Bowl game. It was fantastic. It was so much fun, and so that was till late Thursday night, which was awesome. Then Friday was the big day, Worlds Qualifier. So before we move on, hang on. So go back to the con exclusive stuff. Okay. What do you think about the con exclusives? Look, I like them. I'm sorry. I know. Look, and if I wasn't there, I'd be sad too. But I just think it's something that it's special. They're usually really beautiful, and it kind of just shows the companies they don't have to do it. It's there to celebrate the hobby, celebrate the con-goer. To kind of, in a sense, reward them, I suppose. But I mean, it just makes it more special. Is what the thing is, and so long as it's not a I don't like how, sorry, GW people, but I don't like how GW puts this stuff as unique models behind FOMO boxes or con exclusives, where you can only, the model doesn't exist in the game except for if you bought it that. Whereas these are alt sculpts, the alternative sculpts. You don't need them. You're not missing out. You can buy the normal one and still play it.
Yeah. For sure.
So, and the fact that you can, they have a queuing system, so it's not a mad scrum, it's a more civilized way to do it, is good. And, I wish they would incorporate Europe into this a little bit better. But having the ability for people to order it online as well, kind of softens the blow a bit that you didn't get to go to the con, because not everybody can afford it. I totally get that. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this sort of stuff. Yeah,
I'm not necessarily against them. I've not seen it before. Let's remember MCP is my first, game.
Okay.
So I don't know how this stuff works generally. I'm not too upset about it, but it just seems, it seems quite America centric. But I mean, we know a bit, behind the scenes, don't we, about why get servicing this stuff to Europe is a little bit trickier.
Right.
And it's not an AMG issue. There's no spite in it.
We should be clear. AMG, they're not the publisher. Yeah. It's Asmodee, and Asmodee is not one company. It's all different
it's a conglomerate
of companies. Yeah, so all work differently and all have different rules and processes. Blah blah blah. And so,
it's not AMG. It's not AMG saying, "Hey, let's do a cool Mephisto sculpt for Americans."
Yeah, exactly. And they're gamers. They're ultimately, they want to spread as much of fun as possible. I mean, I talked to so many of the staffers, and you could just see how thrilled they were to see all these people around playing their games, you know? And like this, we did this, we created this, was, you know, and like the satisfaction was, so like, why would they want to exclude people if they could help it? You know, it's just one of those things. So hopefully, you know, they're always looking for ways to try to make it happen. So hopefully it will happen for us.
For sure.
So I'm just going to say it now because I'm likely to forget before the end of the show. And in another demonstration of all this, I was talking to some of the staffers, and I'm not going to mention them by name because they're behind the scenes type folks, and I don't know if they want to get doxxed. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they were all super cool and talked at length with me about also what you and I are doing for the community, Jamie, more than once. Acknowledged. Cool. Yeah, super nice.
Hey, look at that. Some acknowledgement. Nice. Yeah. That's fun.
And also, you know, they're looking to support us as well. Anyhow, I told them the situation and the fact that I could only get one. I said I wanted to buy a few more because I wanted to give them away at events. And he was the person I was speaking to was like, "Oh, you can't get more than one." I said, "No, they have the list. There's a list.
The list. The list." Computer says no.
So we walked over there, and he talked to them, and he's like, "We do have promo copies, right?" And the Asmodee people are like, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, look, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Look, if I can get one for the London scene and for the Swedish scene, I figure the two biggest regions in Europe, I said that would be amazing." And he's like, "Let me hook you up." So he gave me 2 copies of the Mephisto, all con exclusive, one to give away in the UK somehow, and one for probably Multiverse of Malmo in Sweden coming up in July to give away. And that was just so amazing. And I was so happy to be like the mule to help make that happen because, you know, again, it was just because they could hand it to me in person that it could happen as opposed to like shipping it, blah, blah, blah.
So what I'm hearing is the Swedish meta should all club together to send you to Adepticon each year to get some swag for them.
That is, I like the way you think, Jamie. That'd be amazing.
Sounds good. That's great. So so you got one for yourself, one for the London meta, one for Swedish meta, and then one for eBay, and that's the one that's on eBay right now for $5,000, right?
No.
So the chip paid for itself.
If only. I wonder if they're on eBay now. I'd be curious because I hear Bill is on eBay in the States for $250.
What? Just Big Bill?
Yeah, because he's out of print. Yeah. Yeah. So
it is on eBay right now. £160 for the con exclusive. £160.
Ooh, that's easily $200.
Yeah. There you go. Wow. Damn.
Oh, you have to send me that link. I'm curious to who's selling that.
Should we out them here? Shout out their username. Hey, it says Chewy from the Danger Room. Oh, that's weird.
Chewy. No wonder you were such a big spender at the con. Anyway, so that any other questions on all that?
No, sounds good. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing on table.
Cool. So Friday was the big competitive event. And look, this was the only competitive event I was able to go, had the opportunity to do. So it was a bit of a, mild, look, the event was run smoothly. I want to say the first smooth, all to time. Tables were set up really nicely, loads of space on either side for you to put stuff in, loads of space between the rows so that you could actually get to your table easily. Judges very, very available, loads of prize support, lots of out of print stuff too. So like bills were being given away, boxes of bills, and Emma Frost's, which is now the new hotness, were given away. So there was some good stuff and cool Adepticon like medals that you could win and stuff like that. I mean, all of it was run really well and well supported. Go ahead.
No, that sounds good.
Great. Yeah. But my one quirk of the schedule was that except for the qualifier event, which is on Thursday, there weren't any really normal tournaments unless you qualified for the Worlds, you know, which I think should be looked at because otherwise, I like, just like I said, I like the Legion one where you give out an option for both sides of the community to come and play.
Yeah.
So, but this was the competitive one. So we had 4 rounds to play here and it was so good because fans, they so nice they would come up and say hello to me. And and we had swag. Thank you to producer H and yourself for designing the cool pieces of the billboards of terrain.
Yeah. We had a con exclusive.
Yeah,
we put in your suitcase?
Yes. You could tell our producer. I gave away them all by the end of the con, so I spread them out over the con, and people were super thrilled to get them. And also bought a bag of individually wrapped Cadbury chocolates.
Nice. Yeah,
to give away because British Cadbury is made differently in the States than it is here in Britain. So I wanted people to experience the British taste of it. So I would give all my opponents and any fan that came to see me, I gave them a billboard, a swag piece, and a piece of the chocolate.
Yeah, I want to see where they reach, like how far wide they reach. So basically, these are across the Bifrost like billboards, as if kind of the podcast was a thing in the Marvel universe. So we want to see if you ever spot any of those on a table, please take a picture and put it on our Discord. I want to see how far spread they get.
That would be wonderful. I would love that. Yes. So I gave them away, and all the people, and I was a little ashamed to ask these people who would come up to me after we said hello and exchanged a little bit where they're from and how long they've been playing this. I would ask them like for some feedback on the show, right? And I hope that people think I was fishing for compliments because I legitimately I said because I was trying to improve. Like, what is it about the show? Yeah, what is it about the show you like? You know what? It was very hard for them to almost to every person to say what it was, but they all said it's just the camaraderie you and I have, the obvious passion for the game, the tone that we have in terms of the play, the amount of information we give, and the level that we aim it at. Where it is prime people help people do better, but not necessarily be sweaty, like full on sweaty. Some person did mention us being clammy, which I thought you'd like.
That's getting picked up. Nice.
So there was no specific feedback, Jamie, but everybody just had a vibe. It's the vibe. It's the vibe.
We're like it's a brat podcast. On Across the Bifrost, it's Brat Summer all year round. That's the
vibe. So that was cool. And
thank you, everyone, for the feedback. That's really nice. It honestly keeps us going. I've tried to quit this podcast many times, but the nice feedback we get from people and patrons and all that, it really keeps us going. So thank you. Yeah. That's appreciated.
So all my opponents got some of that too. I managed to hold it together, except for one game, which my opponent said I wasn't being salty. But all the other ones, I was not salty. No,
well done.
Zero salt.
You've gone too far, spent too much money to be salty.
It was a lot of fun. The games are fun. So I had some really competitive games. And by some miracle, I went 3-1 and qualified for the Worlds on Friday.
Oh, crazy. That's not very Norbert branded. Come on, man.
What the 2-2 goal was smashed.
Yeah.
So nice. It was a fun time, and I had a lot of interesting games. And I think all 4 games were against fans too. On top of it.
Oh, great.
So, there's Half Days Ninja Will, who was one of the TOs there at the event. I had my Bob T-shirt on. People commented on my Bob WTC T-shirt, which is great. That's Brian Lawson. He does Everwinter. And so he was running the event as well. Thank you to them both for being so hardworking over the whole weekend. That's Ryan Farmer from Strike Better. We've got to meet and chat for the first time. Nice. Even back in the days, in the TTS days, we only could talk virtually. And he wants to do, him and Dembois wants to do a collab. We're going to do a cross podcast collab.
Nice.
At some point soon. So let's get the producers on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a great day, and these are my opponents, and they were all lovely. And here's that beautiful Asgard mat. I mean, wow, with Asgard terrain on it too. And
that is an Apocalypse mat, Norbert. And you're playing Apocalypse. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is an Apocalypse mat with Apocalypse terrain on it. You're a fake fan.
They had Asgard too. This is the
this one in particular is the Apocalypse one. Yeah.
Yeah. Both. They had both themed. And it was marvelous because, the terrain anybody can buy, but I think the mats were made just for AMG to use at these events. And both the Asgard one and this one are gorgeous. I really wanted it. So you can see how many pictures. Here's the Longshanks guy, Red Sam, and his friend. He had a booth just outside the convention hall that he could chat with. He could explain to you about Longshanks. He could also talk to him if you had a new game, so he could start adding it into his system and everything.
Oh, I should have gone just for this. I could have asked him for leader badges in MCP. If I'd have known he was going to be there, like, hey,
well, you make jokes, Jamie, but honestly, I made so many connections with people. I made a connection with the Monument Hobby guy that was going to help support the WTC with prize support for a painting competition. I spoke to the AMG guys. Oh, I spoke to Ben Ranson, the developer for at least MCP, maybe the other games as well. Do you know he's not only a listener, but actually a Patreon supporter of ours?
Awesome.
Yeah. Who else was I? I was talking to all these people like I could make some connections with to do stuff with. The collab ideas came out of these conversations. So you know how it is. They say this in business all the time. You know, you have to get to these professional events and socialize and stuff like that. But I mean, it does actually work also in the hobby space.
Well, hey, maybe we can save up. Maybe we put a little bit of money aside each month from Patreon and get ourselves some tickets over there as a business expense next year, you know?
Also, Jamie, I need to go deeper on the whiskey thing. People also mentioned about how the whiskey part of the show is one of their favorite parts. And one person was trying to explain to me how bourbon is actually very deep and worthwhile whiskey to explore more deeply. Those are the guys from Tampa. My buddy Pierce, who I played, which was the one game that I got a little salty. It was because it was an exact mirror match of Apocalypse. And I don't mean we were both playing Apocalypse. It was literally the same six characters playing 20. Yeah. And we were literally mimicking each other's, because it was Infinity Formula, so it had those two channels, you know. And we were literally, for the most part, at the beginning, certainly mimicking the same moves on each side of the table. And I was like, dude, look, it's just, this game is kind of silly. And he's like, I know, it's just how it is. And by the way, he won that game, and that was because he did better turn zero. He was way better thinking through who to put where and how they were going to activate. Right. And so I learned from that game, actually.
Nice.
And so he outplayed me in turn zero. And after that, it was a dice game, which is what APOC mirrors turned into. But he always had that slight leg up because of the early advantage, and so he won that game, and deservedly so. So that was good. And yeah, it was his buddy who came along and said, they're both from Tampa, and he's like, the bourbons are complex, you got to do this and that. And the other guy was, and they said, you always talk about I'm a Patreon supporter, I'm helping you buy your whiskey, but you got to tell us what you're drinking. It isn't just whiskey, we want to know, because I guess they were taking notes, so it became kind of a thing, which was fun to hear. And so I'm gonna they have armies on display at this thing, and Jamie, the London lot, when they saw this, they could not believe it. And I told them about it, but until you see it with your own eyes, it doesn't make sense. So this is a thing they do this happened to be Saturday night, I think it was, in the evening, where usually clubs, or at least a couple of friends, will make these massive displays. And some of them are just in quotes, display boards with beautiful models and stuff like that. But others are full-on museum, replica type of things, right? Where it's like Dracula's castle, and it's like a 3D castle that's literally 6 feet tall and wide, and has lights and smoke and running water, sometimes music.
What the
hell? Yeah, I am not joking. And all themed. I mean, the whole point is not just to throw something together. The whole point is to tell a story somehow. And this is why I'm saying it's like a museum piece. It's like a diorama, but big. And these clubs put together these things. And two guys from Michigan who are big fans of the show had one there. And it's the Across the Bifrost one. Did I send it to you?
The Thor, like the Asgardians versus the big snake thing.
Yes, but on the Bifrost bridge.
Yeah.
And they freehanded all the cloaks with all kinds of cool Asgardian symbols, what do you call them? Runes.
Yeah.
And just beautifully painted. And the bridge was done perfectly. And it had I think a 4-inch thick, so say maybe 5 centimeters, 7 centimeter deep acrylic pour for the water. And it was just gorgeous. And they're big fans of the show. They're the ones who were asking about which whiskeys I'm drinking. And they wanted me to come see it. So we came over there to look at it. And you know what they did? They, look at this, and look in the camera. They had shot glasses. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Etched with Adepticon and the symbol for Adepticon this year. Plus then their Asgard kind of logo on the back of it. And they had bourbon hidden in the bottom of the base of the diorama. So me and Archie's Scottish, and so we rolled up, and they gave us shot glasses with the bourbon, and so we did a shot, and we drank it there, and had pictures taken, and they're like, just keep the glass. You can keep the glass.
Oh,
so I got this as a gift from them, and Archie did too. Yeah.
Nice.
And they said the hours they poured into it was amazing to see. And it was especially amazing because historically it was a predominantly GW show, but it was great because they had, I think, at least 3 things of MCP or so Marvel oriented type of dioramas in the party armies on display this year. And in fact, one of them, not there sadly, but another MCP won of the prizes from the judges. So it's not, it broke through the GW ceiling, so to speak. Which was awesome. Yeah, but nice. They told me they did one last year too. It was Dracula's Cave that they did. And part of their incentive, they said, Jamie, is like, these days is as usual, you can't bring in outside food and drinks. Their incentive, they said they always build a diorama with a slot for a bottle of bourbon because they could get past the security because they don't check them.
That's brilliant. The whole reason they're doing these dioramas is to sneak booze in. That's great.
It was so good. It was so much fun. So so that was our armies on display. So and then Friday night I had no time to go eat because that was when they did the huge roadmap for AMG. Look at the size of this hall.
Oh, that didn't come across. Yeah, in the live streams I watched, that didn't come across how big that crowd was. That's cool.
It was. This is half the room, and then I took it from the forward half of the room. It was packed. People were on against the wall. People were sitting on the floor. It was great. And so, okay, let me explain to folks who were like not feeling happy about the reveals for MCP. 2 things were going on, I think. Number 1, they have 3 marquee games now. Marvel, Legion, and I'm going to say Shatterpoint because they got a lot of stuff at this thing. There's some confusion as to like how much support they're going to be giving and everything. I think it's more than people think based on the announcements and the knee-jerk reactions they had. But my point is, Jamie, you're a professional, you're in the gaming industry, you understand if you're a company with a number of properties, they always get something, but there's always going to be a spotlight on one at any kind of business cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this year it was Legion's turn. That's all. It was Legion's turn because Legion got a crap ton of stuff revealed. The new rules updates, some new models, but most importantly, a brand new affiliation, the Mandalorian faction, which isn't even just like a normal faction. You can actually custom build your own clan based on like some like customizable rules around the models. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's bonkers. That's really good. And so it was Legion's turn, essentially. But also...
Legion's also coming off the back of the new starter sets, right? And the new edition.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying
it's totally Legion's era right now, yeah.
Right. It's a business cycle thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing they said on the show, and also when I talked to some of those behind-the-scenes staffers and stuff like that, they said they have realized that the hype cycle has gotten out of control. And I 100% agree. Meaning they've been spoiling stuff way too early. And that means you get excited then, but that stuff doesn't come for ages. And honestly, that's not good for business, right? Because they're going to lose some sales because the hype isn't there anymore. People forget, blah, blah, blah. But it's also not good for us, you know what I mean? Because you've kind of, spoiled it already and you're not a kid at Christmas anymore, when the stuff shows up. So their new policies is I think it said 60 days. Like it's a 2-month is when we're going to learn about stuff. Okay. Ahead of time, which I think is perfect. It gives you enough time to get excited about it, to decide if you want to buy it, to save your pennies so you can actually buy it. And that way they get the sale, you get the hype at a time, and you get to play with it while you're still a little buzzing about it. It's perfect. And so the problem is that now they're catching up. So this, unfortunately, is a dip in the hype cycle because they've spoiled too much already to have it kind of catch themselves up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, they went too far, like, into the future, for the last year and a half, right?
Yes. And so I think that's perfectly sensible, and I'm going to give them full credit for that, and people ought to give them some slack because of that. But without trying to overpromise, they did hint that we may not have said everything then as a result during the show. about what's coming out.
Yeah, I play more MCP than most people, right? I'm probably in the top 1% of how much I play this game. So I'd be the first person to get burnt out. I'm also, cursed with knowledge / privileged with knowledge of what's coming and, some of the stuff. And I'm not worried. I get that, like you say, this is kind of, we're having to adjust to this new kind of marketing style and schedule, and also there's things like the tariffs, right, which makes things difficult, and there's delays, and like that's going to upset AMG just as much as it upsets the players when stuff gets delayed, right, and or something gets released in one country and not the other.
They hate it.
It's the worst. Yeah, it's the worst. They get hurt just as much as we do by that. So yeah, I get it. It's gonna sting for a bit, but I don't think we need to worry. There is cool stuff coming. It's not coming. It's just they're not telling us about it just yet.
Yeah. So I hope that kind of puts things into perspective for people, and not to get so down. The game is solid. This is the most important thing, and stuff is coming. And be happy with what you got. Like I guess I'm like the weird one. I get it. I'm not like typical, but I'm so happy with the stuff I have. I want to play the stuff I have. I'm not worried about the future. Like when playtesters like, you want to know what's happening? And, they're not supposed to do that. But okay, I say no.
Yeah, who's doing
no.
that? No one should be doing that.
Don't do that. But I also say no. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I really don't. There's too much to do now. Why should I be worried about what's coming?
There's too many affiliations you're not currently playing. Yeah.
Yeah, or models, just models. I'm excited for what I have. So I hope people kind of take that to heart a little bit and maybe have a better appreciation.
I mean, I'm on the opposite side, right, of the spectrum. Like, I think I'm pretty done with this crisis rotation, even though I think it's incredible. I want something new. Like, I want new stuff. I'm waiting for X Factor. I thought they were going to come sooner than they are now. I need some more mutants to complain about, but I'm more prone to kind of that disappointment, I guess. But like you say, I work in the games industry, so I kind of have a better idea of like what's going on in the background in terms of marketing and them having to balance the games, and they had X-Wing once upon a time, right? And now they're kind of sunsetting Shatterpoint and all the things that come along with that, and it's difficult, And the people that are getting the most hurt by that right after the players are AMG. They want to be supporting all these games and bringing out stuff all the time, but there's other things. There's people with big suitcases of money that have a say in this stuff. So I think we've been spoiled up until this point, and like I say, I'm not worried. There's a rebalance coming in June. It's going to be enormous, they say. So I'm not worried. It's just we have to be a little bit more patient. But I as soon as all that happened, I immediately started to look at our events that we're running and was like, cool, let's start getting excited for these events,
Yes.
Now we know that our event in May, for example, is going to be on the current crisis rotation. So what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, and foreshadowing, we also sat down with Will Schick, or I did, and had a hour-long conversation with him, and we talk a lot about the Crisis Pack coming up and how it's going to work and what to expect and blah, blah, blah. So stay tuned for that. This is so then Friday I was in Worlds. I played 3 matches and went 1 and 2 before I decided to drop because I also had a painting class because I didn't expect to be in Worlds. So that all worked out just fine, and had a lovely time playing against some really good APOC players. It was great. But I want to show this picture in particular. This is John. So me and the other Darren and then Archie were all in Worlds. We all qualified. So yay, London Meta. And so they were playing in it as well. But John decided to play in the Timeline event. And I want to give credit, John. He made this decision. And he's like, I'm not sure about this, but I made the decision. I'm going to stick to it. And because it's an investment for him, in terms of models, he had to paint all these new, because Timelines, is like 3 different rosters, right?
Yeah.
Which are entirely different. So you need all those models. And he went through the trouble of painting them all and getting a game plan together for them all. He put a lot of effort into it. And then we found out that it was going to be 6 rounds of MCP on that day to play in Timelines. This is a picture of him at the beginning of the day. He had to be there at 7:30, and he
Whoa.
He didn't end until 11:30 at night.
Oh my God. What the hell?
It was much as endurance event as anything else.
Jeez.
It was It was crazy. It was crazy. And he stuck through it. And, another community note, they had a Best Sportsman type award as part of this.
Yeah.
And it turns out there's a little kid who wanted to play timelines. His dad was like, "Are you sure?" and he's like, "Yes, I want to play timelines." I think 8, 10 maybe. I don't know. That young though, like that.
Yeah.
And so he got there and the judge was like, he wants to play timelines. And the dad was like, "Yeah, look, I think maybe 4 rounds is as far as he's going to go.
Yeah.
Is that going to be okay? I don't think it's going to go further." And they're like, "Yeah, look, he's here excited to play timelines. Let's let him play timelines. We'll make it work." The kid went all 6 rounds.
He won the event.
No, he didn't win. He went all 6 rounds, but he also won Best Sportsman from all the players' votes.
Yeah. Wow.
And so he stood there. Now look, there's a little kid, probably the only one, a bunch of grown men, some quite older men, standing around. It's got to be intimidating, right?
Yeah.
He's in this like scrum of people during the award ceremony surrounding. He's a little kid. You got to put things in their perspective, right? And they're just physically shorter. Even everybody's towering over them. Anyhow, they read out his name for Best Sportsman, and at first, these are what people tell me. He stood there in shock, like he didn't register that it was like his name wasn't registering that he heard, and then he started just tears started coming down his face. Yeah, because he felt I don't know what he felt, but it feels like he just felt like the acceptance and the recognition of a little guy amongst all these older / more experienced people recognizing him. It just was overwhelming, and
that's so cool.
He was beyond happy.
Great. I mean, that kid's going to come back in 10 years and win worlds. So
yeah. I mean, think about what that does for a kid's ego and growth and self-confidence. Here's the Asgard map. How dare you? There it is.
That's great.
Right?
That's beautiful. Love it.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
With Asgard terrain. Actually, that was good. There's Zeke. Zeke was a great guy from Florida. He great APOC player. He got really far in Worlds as well. That's our friend from AMG, who he's, I think,
Aman.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
So anyway, that was Friday. I went to a painting class. There's Lucas from Squidmar, the painting channel Squidmar. He was doing a class just in the dealer hall in the Vallejo booth. And I heard his voice and I was like, "Is this real?" And he said, "Yeah, it was him." I did my painting class. I learned how to do airbrushing. Blending is what I did there. These are pictures of all my friends I saw there. And then went to another brew pub, Explorium. Brew pub. I had another flight of beers and dinner. These are my friends, my old friends and new friends. So learned a lot. Met my old New Jersey friends. They told embarrassing stories about me, which was fun for them to learn about. And there you can see. Then we went to Armies on Parade. You can see the Armies on Parade. There's the guys who gave us the shots with their models. And so then it was Sunday. Sunday was reserved for me because I wasn't going to get into Worlds. So Sunday was reserved for me to go shopping. So I went to the dealer hall and met a bunch of people in addition, like at booths and stuff, in addition to actually just looking for cool new hobby products. And Darren and Archie were both, neither one of them made it into World Championship. Instead, Archie started doing some pickup game, and then he started getting into Relic Blade, and he picked up Relic Blade there, so he did some more games of that. But Darren is one of the guys who couldn't stop gaming, and he went into the affiliation battle that day, and he won Global Tyrant medal from Adepticon for his performance at the affiliation event on Sunday. So he was thrilled to finally pick up an actual medal from Adepticon, and so we'll talk about his journey both in Worlds and on that in that special show, Patreon only show. So the Worlds was, of course, the top 8 playing it, and congratulations to Nathan Stickling. From Texas, who won the overall event, which was super exciting. But do you want to go into some of the thoughts that came out from the way the qualifier was set up on the Saturday and then how things went down on Sunday, so we can try to clear up some of this for the community?
Yeah, that'd be good, because I'm confused about things, and I'm worried that my youth in wargaming is showing. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay, so to start with, the worlds. If you won a GT or won last year's worlds, you got an automatic spot in this year's worlds. Okay, and so of the number of world GTs that were held out all over the world, only I think 9 spots got filled up. Okay, and they had 64 spots. So basically, the qualifier on Friday, they would take as many people as needed to fill up Saturday to 64. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. It was strength of schedule, all straightforward, and it turned out to be 55. They took 55 people from Adepticon to seed into the qualifier. Then the qualifier, which, like I said, I was in, or the worlds that I was in, was 64 players, but they wanted to play it for 4 rounds. Now, the reason I say that is you could theoretically run it for 3 rounds, which would leave you with 8 undefeated players. And they wanted to have 8 players going in on the Sunday final, so they could do 3 rounds and have a clear winner on Sunday. That makes sense. But they wanted to play 4 rounds. And I think the reason is that they felt like people paid money to play at Adepticon, and they would feel shortchanged if they played less than 4 games. Okay? I think that's the overriding reason that they wanted to do 4, even though they only needed 3, per se. Which led to the complication of this. So after 3 rounds, like I said, there are 8 undefeated players. Because you could go 4 rounds, those players would play each other, which would knock out half of them. And then it would be strength of schedule to fill up the other 4. So it could be the people got knocked out, because if their strength of schedule was high enough, they'd still come in the 4th through 8th slot, potentially. But it could be other 3-in-1s that have better strength of schedule that could kind of, let's say, ascend up into the top 8, right? Does that all make sense so far?
Absolutely. No. I follow every word you're saying.
No, you're shaking your head. No. What is it you don't understand?
No, carry on. I'm probably not the target audience for this. carry on.
Okay. So, but the problem is that there's a quirk in the Longshanks system in the way scoring is done that draws are scored as wins.
Mm.
So if 2 players who are in the top 8 draw, they both win. So as if they both won somehow, even though one theoretically should have lost and one should have won. Okay. And because of that, they could just say, we're going to draw, and then they both don't have to play the 4th round, essentially, and still are guaranteed to make it in on Sunday. This was an understood situation. And so about half of them took advantage of it, and half decided to play their games for whatever reason. And that's, I think, what the controversy was, is allowing this drawing system to take place, because it just feels kind of icky, and the players are taking advantage of the rules like they should. That's the rules, and that's how it is. But it felt a little icky, and at the same time, the hope of these 3-in-1s to maybe get in was essentially dashed. And how people feel about that is a big debate, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, my input on this, again, like, this is my first game. I haven't gone to other competitive games before. Like, I understand this is something that happens in card games a lot, and maybe it's a convention thing or an American thing or an Adepticon thing. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just coming from a place of someone who has never done this before. This is my first hobby game. I just feel like the champion should have to play the most amount of MCP to win. Mm-hmm. And everyone should have to play the same amount of MCP.
Yeah, sure.
And, I don't know, I don't think I really followed, like, too closely once I saw that stuff. But, like, I mean, can you win by... basically, I think you need to be able to get to 16 VPs or table your opponent the most amount of times to become, like, the world champion.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, there's lots of ways you could solve it. You could say, well, after 3 rounds, the top 8 are locked in, that they just go to the next day, but they carry on with a 4th round, just so other people can see where they end up, for some self-satisfaction about, where they are in the rankings. They could change it so that draws or losses. That would solve it really easily. You could, and this will never happen, as we know, but they could add chess clocks into the situation, because then one person has to lose by running out of time. So you can't draw. There's no drawing possible. So there's lots of different solutions. It's just a question of how the Adepticon team putting this together decide which way to go or to leave it as it is. But that's the situation.
Why don't they just do like the Swiss stuff that we do?
Yeah, again, because you would only need 3 rounds during Worlds to get there. And as I said, I think an overriding
number.
Yeah, because it's 64 to start with. If you do 3 rounds with 64 starting players, you will end up with 8 undefeated.
Okay.
And they want to run 4 rounds, I think, again, to give people value for money.
Yeah, and I'm always, I mean, you and I know that, right? Our events are always, how do we play the most amount of games? So I get that.
They don't do the pod system. And we've also encountered some problems with big events where putting people into pods at a con can be more trouble than it's worth.
Pods is a lot of effort, a lot of work,
Yeah, so that doesn't work either, really. So it's a few of the examples of what I gave are some of the solutions, but it's a matter of whether they do them or not. So the other controversy, of course, was on Sunday. They did 3 rounds, and of all the games, only 2... Of all the games, so let's see, that's, I don't know how many, but only 2 actually were actual wins. The other ones, which were the far majority, all went to time, sadly. And so that's why you'll see in the results that they don't go to 16 or over 16. They have these lower numbers because the time would be called and they would, whatever the score was, I think it was, would be declared the winner.
Yeah, that's odd considering the current like crisis rotation is the fastest we've had. And most games end at 4, right? It's
I was super surprised by that. I had not expected so many top players to play so slowly that they would clock.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I wasn't watching the games. I can't comment further, but those are the facts. And I was surprised by it.
Yeah, I've just seen here, out of 7 games that were played in that top 8, only 2 of them actually got to 16 VP.
Yeah.
None of them were tablings. So yeah, that's basically almost all games ended on time.
Yeah. Yeah. So whether that needs to be looked at or not, again, chess clocks would solve that problem, but we know for sure that there's just not in AMG's philosophy. So another solution needs to be found somehow or what? I don't know.
I mean, there's plenty, right? You and I, I'll say it, are pioneers of event, kind of setups. And there's so many different ways you can try it, but every time we come up with a new format, there's problems with it. It's not perfect. So we change format and then there's problems with that one. And so it's a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
And I guess people, when you put the word worlds in your event, people expect, good, clean MCP to be, finalized and games end and everyone gets a shot and all that stuff. So it's a lot of pressure. I don't know. Seems odd to me, but I don't know. AMG aren't a event company, are they? They're a game company.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And of course, all the judges, as I mentioned, super hardworking, all running big events in their own rights throughout the United States. So they're, seasoned TOs is my point. They all are clearly aware of this. They're not naive and want this event to be better and better each year. And it has become better and better each year. This was the biggest and smoothest run one, at least of the 3 times that I've been. And so I'm certain it'll come on, they'll work out a way to make it lovely. Next,
for
sure. As best as they can.
I've got a third controversy.
Oh, okay.
Do you know how many countries were represented at this event?
I'm going to say maybe 4 tops.
Do you know how many countries were represented at the ATP event in January?
Okay, but we're in Europe. That's a little easier.
What is it with calling these events World Championships?
Wow,
what the heck? It's just a bunch of Americans playing each other. Call it the Adepticon Championship. We've got the World Team Championship over here where a bunch of different countries, play against each other. They're like country-based teams as well. And then, our events, obviously, it's easier for people to get here. We don't call our events the World Championships. Maybe we should. We had some Americans at the last one, so we've got more right to call it the World Championship than
the boys told me on the way home that we should call our next ATB big weekend event, we call it the Rest of Worlds event.
Rest of Worlds. We should. There's more of the world represented at our events than at Adepticon.
AMG had tons of GT swag on offer through a ticketing system. So you could save up tickets for playing games and winning games and doing league type stuff. And so you could trade them in to buy green dice or the new cards. And we talk about the new promo cards and how they make them in the special Will Schick episode that we recorded. So you can hear all about how they've changed over time and how they've upped their game. And it is nice. The stuff is super nice, noticeably nicer than some of the promo cards I've had in the past, which were also nice, but these are even better. And all kinds of cool stuff for both Shatterpoint and Legion on top of that as well. So there was loads of interesting swag on offer there for folks. And I managed to have some slipped in my bag to bring home. Yeah. Nice. So if you're coming to some of the London events, you will get early access to that GT, this year's GT swag early.
The Across the Bifrost events.
Yeah. Yes. And can I mention really quick how so nice all the Americans were to us? All the Brits that were on me on the trip said they were super, super nice to them. Really appreciative that we came over. And to show you how nice it was, DeLuca and Sooner at the end of Worlds, Archie was standing there, and like I said, he didn't make it into Worlds, and it kind of was a little bit despondent. He really had set high hopes and objectives for himself. And he was stood there during the award ceremony, and those two guys gave him all of their tickets for the GT swag.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So he was able to buy all this GT swag that he otherwise wouldn't have had access to because of the kind donation of the tickets from those guys.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is just such class. Yeah. It has to be said. So we were buzzing. It was great. We got a Uber back to the hotel, to Chicago O'Hare. The guy was a local Wisconsinite who had his brand new puppy, his 2-month-old puppy, with him in the car. So it was 4 of us or 5 of us and the dog that went to the air. He told us all about the Wisconsin lifestyle. I learned all kinds of ways that people enjoy themselves out there and what his lifestyle was like. It was pretty cool and it's not expected. And because we were in Chicago, I made sure the boys had deep dish pizza at the airport. Nice. I know it's only airport pizza, deep dish, but I mean, at least they got to experience that kind of specialty.
Important culture. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had that. We had, of course, the miserable overnight flight home, and then I got on the horn here with my favorite co-host. Yeah, with Jamie. Hey,
whoa,
Jamie.
Look at that.
That's my story.
Nice. God, nice. Take a breath. Well done. You're back on, home soil for you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds awesome. Like, I'm jealous that you got to be there, meet so many people, and, the pictures really helped. Thank you for that. That was a nice, holiday photo album. So check that on the Discord when this episode goes live.
Will do.
Yeah, it sounds good. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, maybe next year, let's see. It sounds like a good event. Maybe we can make it there.
I would be curious about you because you told me that you've been to conventions a lot in the past for video games, and you were kind of over the whole con thing. You said, because we were doing that at UK Games Expo, which approaches I wonder if you went as a miniature enthusiast to the biggest and most devoted miniature war gathering in the world, with everything that's on offer, because I think you would compete because you like to get a little sweaty. But I also feel like I could cajole you into looking at some of the indie game rooms, looking at some of the...
I was looking up Relic Blade while you were talking.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Yeah, sure.
And so my two of my old friends from New Jersey, Stubbs and Zach, are old school high quality display painters, competitive painters, and they were there to look at the Golden Demon entries. And Archie, who entered into the Worthy, he's a painting enthusiast. He said he got to hang out with those two guys as they were looking at Golden Demon, and they would explain to him the critiques on what was wrong with the models and stuff like that. All beautiful models, don't get me wrong, but he said, when you get in at this level, this is what's going to be wrong with this is wrong with this. And he said his mind was opened up as to what he needed to do to hit that next level of his own painting journey. You know?
That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to hear that. So
great.
Whew, that was a lot. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
We didn't actually speak about any MCP, but maybe that's for a future episode. Jubilee got revealed. That's cool. Bunch of Sentinel cards got revealed. That's cool. Marvel Alliances. People played it. That looks cool. But I guess we'll just have to do another episode to talk about that stuff.
This kind of makes my point, Jamie, about Adepticon in particular, but American style cons. It's so much. Yeah. I got to do maybe half of what I wanted, and that's only a fraction of what was on offer there. And I've spent an hour and 15 to hour and 20 minutes talking about it and still haven't even talked about my games. which were actually really fun for the even that goofy apocalypse one. If it weren't fun at the time, it's kind of so ludicrous that it's a funny story now.
Nice.
So so thank you to everybody who came up to me. You made me feel just good to be as part of this community, and blessed and privileged and grateful. It's just emotional. So thank you, and thanks to all my opponents, and thanks to all the hardworking people in the judging team, and also to Chewy for hosting us to start off with, all the podcasters who want to do collabs with us, and also all the AMG guys who told us a lot about what we did and how important it is to them. So thank you.
Beautifully said. All right. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. And happy gaming.